Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach. And in today's episode, we are going to be building a mall. And I know what you might be thinking. It is 2205. Why are we building malls? Those are dead, long gone by now. But they're not. And I don't think that they're ever going to completely disappear. What we're going to build is actually kind of an inverted mall, a lifestyle center. This is something I insinuated to back in Bluffside Crossing, I think it was episode 4, with Belmar in Lakewood, Colorado. So these are becoming more and more popular. And one of the reasons they're becoming so popular is because they generate significantly more revenue and visits than a traditional mall. They also save on heating and cooling costs, and generally are just a better place to visit. So the Lopez Brothers have been visiting a number of cities to look at different lifestyle centers, and they've come across a design that they want to actually implement. So what they've noticed is that lifestyle centers generally generate about 40% more revenue than a traditional mall, don't require indoor heating or cooling for the common pedestrian walkways, and are generally a better fit for most suburban communities, which is what they have. So what we're going to do is build a lifestyle center right about here. The reason we're choosing this location is the excellent access that it has to Verde Beach proper, excellent visibility, and it'll be a place right along this collector here where you'd have easy access directly into the mall. Before we get to that, we've got a couple of things we need to take care of. I was panning around and I noticed that we've lost a couple of buildings. So let's get this fixed. Okay, so we're back in business. I'm actually wondering if this was where that fire was that we had in our previous episode. Very well could be. Not sure though. All right, so now that the Lopez brothers have all of this money from building Ruby Shores, they are going to build this mall. So we're gonna have to spend a lot of time focusing on counting. So I hope you want to count with me today because we're gonna do it. So what we're gonna do first of all is add in a street here. I'm gonna keep this completely parallel because today we're gonna have a lot of focus on parking and where parking goes in a lifestyle center. Where it goes is on the inside, not the outside. We want to make it appear to be a traditional downtown type area with lots of mixed uses. So let's look at our contour lines real quick to see what things look like here. You see that for the most part, it's pretty flat, which is good, but it's not completely flat. So we're gonna need to focus on this. We're gonna create our own terrain. And we will inevitably modify some of this as time goes on. But to start out, I want a nice even pad. Now this is probably a place where we need to give a little bit more thought and consideration to what we're doing here. Let's add this. This is gonna be our first entryway into the shopping center. And I'm gonna hold off on making any more for the time being, and you're gonna see why in just a moment. So one of the things that we're doing is we're gonna use a parking lot asset that I created that I've been using very generously in previous episodes. And I know that I saw some comments that said, you know, why am I using this? First of all, is that really vanilla? It is vanilla, but why am I using so much of this parking? The main reason is that I don't have a structured parking ramp. I'd love to use structured parking. That said, structured parking likely only comes into play when you don't have ample land available because the parking costs quite a bit more. So no one is going to voluntarily add a bunch of structured parking. They're going to need to do that when the land values support it. Okay, so right now I'm going to pause this for a moment because we are going to do a whole bunch of zoning things right off the bat. So I'm going to zone for some commercial buildings and be really thoughtful about it. I want to do 4x4 buildings, maximize our density, and then we're going to pull a road through here. And truthfully, I might even go a little bit further in so that we're on a flat pad. And through here, we're going to loop back around so that we can have some parking. So let's grab our parking asset. We're going to stick that back here. And then through here, we will have a road. So this road isn't terminating exactly where I want it to. So we're going to call a little bit of a mulligan and play the game a little bit. And if you agree that that didn't happen, I agree as well. So there we go. Let's add in some more buildings through here, and we're going to add some pedestrian passages through. Okay, so that's generally what we're going to be up to. Now here we've got that terrain, so I'm going to turn the contours back on, and rather than attempting to zone this and make it a place that is suitable for development, we're just going to skip it. So what we'll do is come down a bit more, and we know that we could fit parking back here. We could also boost this up. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to fill this in just a bit. And I called a bit of a mulligan here to level this out. It was a little bit off and I didn't want it to look crazy. So we'll just leave that up there and then we'll drop this road down here. What I think we're gonna do is rather than zoning right up to this, we'll cut these buildings back a little bit. We'll keep this and then again, cut these buildings back and kind of mirror what we're doing. Now through here, we're gonna again have another row for shopping. We're gonna go a little bit further back even because I think it would be very helpful to have pedestrian facilities back here and maintain our maximum density. So there we go, that'll be another street. We're gonna focus a ton of development along this and then again, have more parking behind. But we're gonna do something a little bit different over here. So we need to have our main street. And what we're gonna do is look for the very center of this. That's gonna be 512 in terms of cost. And now that we have this, we're going to do some interesting things. So first of all, let's again, we're going to sprinkle in some other types of land uses. And here we're going to add in some unique buildings. So we've got some really interesting ones that we could add. First of all, I think a department store would fit really well in here. Unfortunately, it does not fit within the grid that we've created, but that's not a big deal. We'll just change it. We'll work our grid around our building. So there's one building I want to include. The next one's going to be a cinema. So we'll add that right here. I'm going to give a bit of space so we can decorate the side of this and make it feel like a place. This building comes right up to the street, so I think that that's completely fine. So we're good with that. Now, to make this feel like more of a downtown type area, what we're going to do is get a little bit kitschy with it, and we will add in a post office. In fact, that might be the most suitable building for this corner. That said, we've got to change this a little bit. So we'll scoot that down and pull this back around. And then again, focusing on that pedestrian access, we'll add that there. Now let's have some more commercial buildings here to create that storefront atmosphere. And we'll have some pedestrian walkways through here. Now again, we're going to need to hide some parking. So that's going to be something that we have to think about. And we're going to need to figure out a good place for that. So we're going to continue to bring this down here, and then we'll have a street that comes up this way and divides this block in half. And truthfully, I'm not liking that either. So we've got the side of the mall here. We're going to pull this out a little further. There's no problem expecting people to walk a little ways in a lifestyle center. In fact, I think it's almost encouraged to create that sort of atmosphere where walking is encouraged. So here, we'll kind of reorient. I think we're going to pull this up a little ways and then do something a little special for this area to create a vista. And what we're going to do is pull in an asset that I've been curious about using, but haven't done it just yet. Big Ben. It is a unique choice, to say the least. But the reason why we're adding this here is because we're going to add a roundabout. So this is going to be very sustainable city-like. But what we're going to do is create a unique place in the city, or the town center, not the city, and have a little bit of a roundabout here. Now we've got to find the right distance. So it wasn't 4, 5, 6 maybe? 6! What a surprise! There we go. So we've got that. It's not connected to a road. It'll be mad about that. So we will fix that. We're turning on just angle. And then from here, we will continue our shopping center. Now we've got to get around this building. It's a little bit off, so we're going to need to do something about this. So what I think we're going to do is just pull this down a little ways. We're going to add a pedestrian connection through here and then another unique building. And this time we are going to go for really kind of the counterpart to this building, which is the shopping center. Now again, we're creating that Main Street type atmosphere, a pleasant place to walk, maybe not such a pleasant place to be a driver, which is completely acceptable. That is desirable. That's what we're trying to do. Then again, mixing the uses so that if you were to live in here, it would be a place where you could expect to be able to walk to things. Then back through here, we're going to again to try to hide some parking. So it's going to be a bit of a trick hiding it back here, but we're going to go for it. So let's send this road back here. And we'll follow this building up and come around and meet up right there. So here I want to again focus on where my buildings are going. I don't want them focused around the roundabout. That's a little strange. So let's go ahead and block that off. For the time being, we'll keep it like that. We're gonna have to make some adjustments, but that should work just fine. And I should have added this road right here. This is one that's coming off this leg of the roundabout. And then we'll come up through here. Now this is going to be a parking lot. And you might wonder, how is that possible? Well, we're gonna have to extend it out a little ways now that I'm looking at it. I want to be able to hide the parking. So we're gonna pull this out another 4 tiles to here. And then we'll run that through. Now here, the reason why I wanted to pull this out is we're gonna come through 2U all the way around, and we'll run a road right up here. It looks like my numbers were actually off there. We could have taken that in. That said, since we have the opportunity, I'm gonna mirror what I've done, and we will indeed do that. And then here we'll go with some housing and try to leave space for the ability to walk behind it. And then to kind of fill in this area, we're going to do the exact same thing. Just add in pedestrian facility, do the same thing here, and we'll add our facilities back here as well. So to once again reinforce this as kind of a main street type area, we're going to continue this out a few more blocks. Now we are starting to lose. We can't go all that much further, so we're going to end this shortly. But I think it's going to work out just fine. Now, this would certainly represent a change in use. So this would be something, a change in planned use. So the comprehensive plan for this area would need to be amended to have all of this mixed use. And I know that stinks. It's crazy when you think about it that, good mixed use developments would need to be authorized in a plan like that. But it is indeed the case that oftentimes things like this would need to go through that plan review process. And it would require a comprehensive plan amendment because that was not what was planned for this area. That said, I believe that the town would take a look at this and say, wow, that's going to generate a ton of tax revenue, tax base, better than some single family homes. So we are for it. We are for it. All right. So here we're going to have some more commercial shops, and now we're going to work in some of our healthcare and other buildings, such as that. We'll add in a clinic here. We're going to continue using our European assets here. And I bumped this over just a little bit so we could add in some paths through here so someone could admire Big Ben from behind here. So just being really thoughtful and meticulous about the design of this area, if we can. We'll do the same thing here. Just send a path up. We'll have some trees here in the future so folks will be able to come and admire this. So I think it's turning out really, really good. So here we're going to come out for you so that we can, again, have our full block. And we'll extend that out here. Now, I don't think we're going to go much beyond this, but we are going to need more parking. We have a significant shortage of parking. We're also going to add in an asset that, would kind of bookend this. So I think there's some really interesting examples of these sorts of malls. I mentioned Belmar here in Madison. We have the Hilldale Shopping Center. There are a number of other examples, though. They really started in the Midwest and the Southeast and kind of emanated out from there. And they were good. They were considered a good alternative because you are able to generate significantly more revenue You don't have to heat that inside of that building or cool it if you're in a place like Verde Beach. So that's a huge benefit for the developer. And it becomes an event space. It's a place that people want to visit rather than a place that people are forced to visit. So that is one of the major benefits. So through here, we're going to add in one more pedestrian facility. And then we'll extend this one block out once more. Now, I think we're going to try to do something similar to what we did here. I might actually extend this all the way through. And I think what we need to do is pull this block out just a little bit. So we'll come through here. Now I'm going to extend this one more block out, and then we'll curve it in to meet up with our existing roadway. And we'll save this, we'll reserve this as park space so that that curve isn't disruptive of our built environment so much. There we go. And we'll save this, like I mentioned, as park space. In fact, there's one park that every single neighborhood must have. This neighborhood is no different. In fact, I would say that this neighborhood really needs this. So we're going to add in our dog park. And next to our dog park, we will add a playground. We'll try to back it away just a little bit, just so that the kids aren't smelling the things that come from a dog park. So, and then again, some more pedestrian connections through. Always important. There we go. And we're going to come back through here again with more commercial. Now, as we reach the end of our little development area, we are going to want to start to think about how we transition out of this or just simply end this. And I think simply ending this is kind of where we're going to be at. So what we're going to do is we'll come through here. We're going to again have another block. So let's come through. We'll make sure that we have enough space for a full block of buildings and then some room for parking. So we're going to go 3U on these buildings. And then we'll again add our parking behind. So I got rid of this road right here because it wouldn't let me build the parking lot where I wanted to. And I knew that I could just add this back in, and now it's totally fine. So along here, we're going to have buildings again. And then on this side, we are going to do a little bit less to hide. Actually, we'll continue this out one more block. And then again, 3U for our buildings. And this is kind of where our development ends. And by kind of, I mean it's absolutely where our development ends. So there we go. Parking hidden again. So here we're going to have something a little bit different, and it's going to be our final unique building. Sometimes you'll see this at the edge in the periphery of one of these major developments, is there will be a traditional auto-oriented land use, and we are going to see that here. This is our hypermart, and it's got parking up front. It's not ideal. But they're going to look at this as the anchor tenant of this particular development and make an accommodation for them as a result. So we're going to pull this back. We want to get this behind it. And then we need to curve this road back into the other one. So we'll have just our angle on. Send this back down, turn our road guidelines back on, curved road tool, find our guideline, and make a nice, clean connection. Now, because I want to maximize the density here, we are going to add a small fence. And that'll just give us the ability to get our maximum density in this area. So I like that. I think it's a good change. Truthfully, now that I'm looking at this, we could do a little bit more. We'll get rid of that. And now we can add in one more pedestrian connection back here. There we go. I like that a lot. That's great. So I've kind of gone heavy on this side on commercial. And the primary reason for that is I think that the uses are a little more suitable. That said, I'm thinking of changing it right here. We're going to go with some more residential type uses over here. And then we'll buffer from our commercial uses and all of our traffic with some offices. And I'm going to add some pedestrian connections to get back to the parking as well. So there we go. For the most part, I think this is the way our development's going to look. I'm going to mix in a couple of other uses over here, but I think this is the general layout. Okay, so this is generally a bit of a cul-de-sac. I mean, it's got more than one way in and out, so maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I think we're going to want to do something a little bit better here eventually to make some additional connections. I think we are going to just square this off. I would see that as a rational and reasonable thing to do. and we'll pull this through and continue our development pattern in this area. So we'll add in our parking. And that is not balanced. It's going to drive me crazy. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. I can't do that. I can't do that to you or to me. So, no. Now I'm going to use my slope terrain tool and attempt to slope up here. And this one's going to be a bit of a trick because we're trying to make our turn. And I think that little segment that I just added wasn't helpful. There we go. It's a little lumpy, a little bumpy, a little crazy. And we are going to accept a little bit of imperfection. So I am going to come through here and flatten this back out so that we can have our maximum density right here. And truthfully, I kind of wish that this would have turned out a bit more similar to the other side, but the dimensions are a little bit different. So it's not totally unreasonable that this would look different. Okay, so I've just come through and mirrored some of the patterns that we're seeing through here. Now, you might be wondering, why haven't I let this run yet? There's a reason. We'll get to it eventually. The main reason is we're going to go through and really change up our land use pattern through here. We're making one more outlet here. We're going to require this of the developer to relieve some of this traffic, and the city's going to work with them on upgrading this road, knowing that this is going to see a ton of traffic. So let's go ahead and get this upgraded. And in fact, we're going to add a bike lane here because this goes right to downtown Verde Beach. And if we are encouraging folks to get out of their car here, why wouldn't we also encourage them to bike here? So I would have loved to run this right up the main street, but we're going to have trees down there. And what we're going to do throughout basically this entirety of this development is we're not going to have any on-street parking. That's going to be a critical component of this, is not allowing any on-street parking. We'll have trees everywhere. We can get rid of our terrain view now. We don't need that anymore. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit of parking there so that someone could access Big Ben without worrying too much about parking. And there we go. I think that this is looking really, really good. So I mentioned I want to control the land uses through here, and that's going to be really, really important. So right now we do not have a name for this shopping center. And that's something that you need to help me come up with. I can't do this on my own. So something lifestyle center. Or something lifestyle center. So what name do you think would be fitting for this that the Lopez Brothers might come up with for this? Now there are lots and lots of kind of silly names that these types of places get. And obviously places often get named after what used to be there. So that's something to think about as well. So if you have an idea, drop it down in the comments. I would appreciate that. Before I get to changing all the land uses, which we're gonna have to do kind of on a block by block basis, these bumpies, they're gonna drive me crazy. So I'm just gonna flatten some of these out. And eventually this will need to integrate well into the neighborhood, but that eventually is not now. I do think that there would be some value in having another connection over here. That said, that's Verde Beach, and where that connection comes in, nobody knows. So, no, we do know one. One is right here. So we're gonna add this through, and you see that the road basically perfectly enters right into this area. And in fact, this connects up with another bike facility, so it's a natural opportunity to make that connection. We're gonna take it. So there we go. People be able to bike up and get to transit even, which we're not gonna have a ton of in here. So that's something to be aware of. So let's go ahead and start to give some more consideration to the uses in here. So I'm looking at this street as kind of the main drag through here. So I think that we're gonna have some more entertainment type uses through here. So I'm just de-zoning this. And let's look at the land use pattern that we've already established here. That's not gonna work. We'll sneak it behind. So here we're gonna go with two things. We will have some leisure, and we are also going to have some self-sufficient buildings. So that will go with the land uses here, and let's turn on our zoning view so that we know what we're doing while we're going through this. Here's another area where I think we can have a block with some buildings that are a little bit noisier. So we're going to come through again and have a place where people would be able to cut loose a little bit. And actually, now that I think about this, yeah, we'll do that here, but we're going to add something directly next to it as well. So there we go. There's that one. And now here, I'm going to actually cut this off what I just did a little bit. And the game doesn't like this level of granularity. It's very easy to see it. What we're going to do is come through and add in some self-sufficient buildings, or for our organic and local produce rather, and hopefully get a nice little organic and local produce district coming up here. And also set self-sufficient buildings here, and we'll pull this back around and add that to this area as well. And I'm going to wrap this leisure district. I guess I'll need to redo the leisure district. We will add that right here. And then again, along this road, we are going to have some special uses through here. So what we're going to do is carve out this little area right here for some of our leisure uses. Down here, we're going to add some hotel type uses, and we're going to remove this one little spot of residential. We'll relocate that across the street. And here we are going to have some more organic and local produce. There we go. So now we just need to get some water and power here, and I think we'll be ready to see how this thing turns out. I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a really neat little district. And for power, I think we're going to do something that's a little bit cheesy, and we're going to run this down here for the time being. I will change this in the future when the power jumps, but for the time being, we're going to leave it there. And I'm going to get this thing going. We're going to see what happens. Hopefully we get some development right here, right off the bat. Okay, so I think for the most part, things have filled in enough for me to be able to demonstrate what I was hoping to. We're having a lot of abandonment, which is, whoa. That is no good. Here I'm just like, why are things abandoning? Oh, it's because I never connected the power. I can't believe it developed that much without power. That is wild. Well, what a great mall. It has no power. So there we go. Now things will come back to life. Okay, much better. I think that wasn't my finest moment. But everyone has mistakes from time to time. So what we're going to do now is just detail this a little bit, but I want to take a look and really show you why we've done this. So when we come through here, what you'll notice now is that we have a place. There are streets that if you walk down, they would feel very good. And by very good, I mean that they would feel like a pedestrian environment. So you'd come through here, this is the main street. You get to look right up at Big Ben and some of the towering offices, which I'm not super thrilled about. I hope that doesn't get much taller. Oh, it actually shrunk. Good. That's what I was hoping for. I don't want huge buildings through here. So those that do get really large, we might need to actually come through and make some of these historical. Because like this, that's too tall. So I think we are going to play a little bit of whack-a-mole and make some things historical around here so that we don't get a ton of height. And then where there are things like this, if there is an appropriate place for this, it's back here where, you know, at least if you were up here, now you get a view of Big Ben and downtown Verde Beach and you're in a hotel, and it's not really restricting anything else besides maybe the views of the parking lot, which do we really care about those anyway? I don't. All right, what we're going to do now is I want to come through here and decorate the trees. Interestingly, we've got a lot of businesses that don't have workers. We're lacking educated workers, which is really strange. It makes me wonder. We're still okay on our capacity, although we've added no schools over here. And one of the reasons for that is I wouldn't really expect to see a school and a lifestyle center I'd expect to see it in the neighborhood that develops around it, potentially. So we're going to leave that as is right now and get some trees planted through here. There we go, and I feel like we need to start a petition to make the young linden the official default tree because it's really, they're so much nicer to look at. And you can see a nice comparison right here. We've got those vanilla trees and then the young linden right next to it. Not even a comparison in my mind, but there we are. So we're just going to sprinkle in some other trees throughout this area to give it a bit more presence. Interestingly, we're out of power again. I'm not sure why, but something funky is happening right here. Oh, I know what it is. Oh, I'm a knucklehead. So I'm stealing power from this one windmill. That's not good enough. So we're going to need to run additional power lines. What we are going to do is just make a connection here for the time being. This one will eventually connect up. So there we go. And that'll help out quite a bit. And again, we don't have power. This is going to drive me crazy. I'll connect it there and see if that solves it. Okay, it seems happy-ish. We don't have power here either. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We've actually eclipsed the available power that we have. So we are going to need to conserve some power for the time being. We're going to have to do something about that very soon. Whoa, I missed that. Oh no. Fires are back, which to me is, I've got a problem. I've got to fix something with fire prevention soon. But right now, the most important thing is power. And I think by setting the power conservation policy, it's really expensive. So this isn't going to work in the long term, but it's for the time being going to help us out. Actually, I wonder if that's the right approach to go. If we look at our budget, we're actually a little bit under 100% utilization. So I do boost this up at night because you need a little bit more power there. Might just go a little above and beyond normal, and then we'll take that power usage policy off, and hopefully that does the trick for us. And let's go back and add just a couple more trees through here. Now, it's unfortunate. Some of these buildings that spawned in actually have gigantic parking fields next to them. That was not what I was trying to have happen. Like right here, we've got some electric vehicle charging rather. We're going to get rid of those and play some whack-a-mole because that is not, I wanted more of these organic stalls, that sort of deal. So we are going to try to pay attention to what we spawn in. And if we get a whole bunch of coffee shops side by side, that's okay. As long as it's not buildings with just a sea of parking. Again, another one of these. I despise that. So here's what we're going to do. Oh, I'm going to cut the power. We're still okay. We're still okay. And I will just cut that off, see if we can get something smaller to spawn in there. Do the same thing here. And hopefully we get something more like this. That has some parking, but I can deal with that. And then we've got a few more trees to add by our hypermarket. I just want to really try to, there's a lot of impervious pavement, impermeable area right here. And anything that we can do to add trees is going to help with that. And interestingly, as I have these be 2U buildings, nothing spawns. And I guess maybe this charger is all that can fit there. So maybe that was the issue. And we get a neighborhood shop and an outlet shop. Hopefully that's good enough. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. I'm much, much, much happier with that. So here, I think we're going to be in the same spot. We'll speed this up and see. Oh yeah, there we are. We get this little public market And I really think that we need to take the inventory of this, enjoy, and have a brief city tour. Okay, and this public market is just as attractive at night as it is during the day, and it is a much better fit for this area, which has really now come to life and become a place that people around Verde Beach go to recreate. Maybe some aspire to live here, and people definitely want to visit. This is a place that if you wanted to go on a larger shopping trip and you lived in downtown Verde Beach, maybe you'd drive over here and go for your trip. And that's really what this is. This is a mall. So we are going to need some transit here, and at some point we will extend a bus line over. But anything more extensive is probably not happening here, even though there is a moderate amount of density. There's also a sea of parking. And one of the tough things about transit is, at least in America, where you have inexpensive, ample available parking, even if you have transit, it's going to be difficult to get people out of their cars. And if you want to get people out of their cars, you make parking expensive, or you make it difficult to find, and then people will find other ways to get here. There will certainly always be those motivated people, but they're few and far between, unfortunately. Not as many of them as we'd like to have. That said, what we have now is if you come in at the street level, you at least aren't seeing that parking. You're seeing what appears to be a dense area. And then you come back through here, and we've got parking. We've got a sea of parking, and probably way more than we'll ever need. But that is what happens in these lifestyle centers. So these are becoming very popular alternatives to malls. You see malls being converted into these lifestyle centers where you come and then you can be a pedestrian through here and feel like you're in a dense, walkable downtown. You even have some places that are taking their old malls and making them into their downtowns by creating these lifestyle centers. So it's an interesting concept. It's a way to retrofit suburbia and make it into a more walkable place. And over time, if you wanted to make this a true downtown, you could start to remove some of this parking, put it into ramps and garages and things of that nature, and fill in some of this land with buildings. So I look at this as a really nice first step towards retrofitting suburbia into something that is more walkable. And unfortunately, in this particular instance, we're not losing power again, are we? Ah, there it is. There it is. All right, well, let's try to figure this out. Where are we losing power again? And it looks like it's half of our town that doesn't have power. Our consumption's way high again, so we are going to have to go through at night, turn this up. We're going to need to do something more significant with this. This is an ongoing issue that's plaguing this city. And, I know that California often has brownouts. We don't want to emulate that part of California. That part is no good. So we are going to do something about that. Let's go ahead, boost that up even higher at night. And we had to go quite a ways to be able to get the lights back on here. I do appreciate, though, being able to actually see that you have power issues by seeing that the lights are going off. To me, that's the lights, and that's also the ACs coming on if it's a warm night. So very, very interesting. I hope that you've enjoyed this build. I had a lot of fun doing this one, and I hope that you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one. We've got a lot more to do in this area, and I'm just getting started. And I hope that you're there for it. Take care. Bye-bye.